I see you there. So Bill is the wingman today. If I'm in a place with very spotty connectivity, and if it fails on me, Bill is going to jump in and Bill, in fact, I'm going to make you a co-host now so that no matter what, you will be able to jump in. There we go. I always love it if people are willing to pop on screen and let us talk face to face. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But I do encourage such behavior. Alrighty, so it's 3:15, and I want to be really, really respectful of your time. And I know that people might be here for a little while and then might pop out and go someplace else. So I'll just tell you what my format is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and put up a slideshow to just kind of talk a little bit about who I am, why am I here? What do I have to share with you today? And a little bit about my journey as a dementia family caregiver, and that which led to my joining up forces with these incredible gentlemen that you see on the screen, Bill and Frank. And we and others have created the product that we will then do a demo of, which is Zinnia. And we encourage people to pop questions into the chat or just unmute at any time if you feel like just asking a question right out loud. We would love to see that. So I'm going to say, Brennan, hello. It's good to see you there. And Kristen Minner. I know Kristen Minner. Kristen Minner is a very dear friend of mine. It's really great to see you there, Kristen. You don't need to say anything, but it warms the cockles of my heart to know that you're on the call. All right, and I see a few people are still popping in, so let me just give it a moment. And 3:17. All right, I'm gonna get things started. So let me go here. Let me sign into that. And I am where I want to be with that. So let me come back to Zoom. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me pull this guy all the way up here, share my screen. So I'm just going to start with a slideshow to just kind of talk a little bit about who I am and why I'm here chatting with you today. So let me just go back into Zoom again. Sorry, something went the way it shouldn't have, and there I am. Okay, so I'm going to share, and I'm going to do a slideshow. And so Bill or Frank, can you just let me know if you see what I see? Okay, cool. All righty, so here we are at CareCon. Welcome, everybody. And as stated briefly previously, you could be many, many places right now, and you're choosing to spend a little time with us. And so I'm really grateful to you for spending this time with us. So to get started then, let me get there we go. All right. So anyway, so my story starts the same way that a lot of you, with an experience that is shared by a lot of you folks in the room, and that is as a dementia family care partner. So this is my beautiful husband, Evan, my boys, Ari and Eli. In this picture, Evan is 48. The boys are 13 and 15, and my husband is 1 year into his diagnosis with frontotemporal dementia, behavioral variant. And it was also around this time that my stepdad was diagnosed with vascular dementia, and my stepmom got Alzheimer's disease. And so I was instantly thrust into this world of trying to figure out, what is dementia? What is the difference between FTD, behavioral variant versus vascular dementia versus Alzheimer's disease? It was all just really dizzying, as you can imagine. So there are over 11 million people in the United States who qualified as unpaid dementia family caregivers, and I was certainly one of them. And one of the things that we all become aware of is the statistics about the impact that this thing could potentially have on us. And it becomes very worrisome. And we start thinking about things like, so how do I survive this? How do I make sure that I'm taking really good care of the person that I love, and in my case, my kids? And how do we pop out at the other end as intact as we can possibly be? So while I was caring for my husband, I also started taking classes. I joined a support group instantly. And that was because a friend of mine whose wife had Alzheimer's disease said, girl, get yourself to a support group. So I did. Hugely helpful. But I also started studying with Teepa Snow. I became certified as a coach and a consultant and as a trainer. And while I no longer hold those certifications because I got kind of busy, it just gave me so much knowledge that allowed me to understand what we were dealing with and how do I support a person. Like here, I'm using Teepa Snow's. I would use hand underhand, but my husband had rigidity, so I couldn't quite use that technique. But here I am helping him guide his food. And then on the other side of the screen, I'm doing the worst thing possible, walking down the stairs backwards to guide my husband because he could no longer make a choice to move his feet on his own. So I would reach down, pull out a foot, step back, and yes, it did eventually fail and he landed on top of me. So I don't recommend that way to do things. So anyway, so there we were cruising along, and a couple of things happened. One is that ultimately my husband needed to move into long-term care. And in our case, that was really driven by the fact that a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old and somebody with a behavioral variant of frontotemporal dementia, it's really hard to have all of that coexist. So a few years into his diagnosis, my husband moved into long-term care. And one of the things that I found in his particular care community is that television wasn't being used effectively. It was being used as a mechanism to have people sit and hopefully be occupied. But what I discovered is that my sweetheart and the other people parked in front of the television weren't terribly occupied. They were instead agitated or they were asleep. My husband would become bored. He would start pounding on his chest because the television was not a very good babysitter. And I thought, oh my God, why isn't there something that is specifically intended for people who are living with dementia? And in doing my research, what I discovered is, oh, okay, if you wanted television that was going to support people with dementia, then it would need to take advantage of the skills that they retained and avoid the skills that they had lost. So things like the inability to track a plot, the inability to tell fact from fiction, the inability to process rapidly moving and audio and video. Regular TV doesn't take that into account. There are lots of great videos on YouTube, but even those are not custom curated to meet the needs of a person with dementia. So I started doing research. I started figuring out, well, what would videos look like if they were specifically intended for a person with dementia? And so what I discovered is that they should probably be fairly short. They should probably be very topically relevant, and they should probably be gently paced. They should probably be something that doesn't create an opportunity for confusion about, is this real or is this not real? And so I thought, well, gosh, I can do that using my Apple iPhone. And I could do it on my iPad using Apple's Memories product. I could create these little videos that are very relevant because they're about topics that are meaningful to my husband. And I started creating more of these videos that were based on content that was on my phone. So these are some of the videos that I was able to create using Apple's Memories product. And what I discovered is, wow, not only is he really focused on these because they're visually very appealing and they are slow paced and there is no plot and there's no ability to confuse fact from fiction, but also they were useful not just to engage him, but they were useful for me to start conversations with him. So when he had gone nonverbal, I could still show him one of these videos set to beautiful, gently flowing music. Thank you, Apple. And I was able to have conversations like, what are those things that are under the sea exactly? Oh my gosh, they're sea urchins. And that's our sweet little cat, Blackie, who you see on the right, who lived to be 22 years old. But I could show a video of that and my husband would get it. And what I also discovered is not only were these far more engaging than regular TV, but they also helped soothe him if he was starting to become agitated, because he would instantly be drawn to the images that I was showing him. So now a little bit back into my research and stuff that I was doing at the time. So I'm creating these little videos for my husband. I've got these certifications. I became certified by Washington State to teach the classes that are mandated for anybody who works in long-term care. So I actually went into long-term care communities and I taught full-day dementia and mental health classes to help people be better equipped to support the residents they were caring for. I also did workshops that were specifically directed towards people who are family caregivers like all of us. I became a champion for Dementia Friends, so I would teach their workshops. And I joined the University of Washington's Memory and Brain Wellness Center, where I ran a program that was specifically intended, still education, but in this case, we were educating doctors to be better equipped to support people who are living with dementia. So I was busy with all of that, but at the same time, I was really curious about these little videos that I was making. And I thought, man, how do I do this at scale? Like, how do I get a hold of content that isn't on my phone? Because I wanted to show my husband videos about skiing, and I wanted to show him videos about hockey and maybe kayaking. If I were showing them to my dad, I would want to show videos that were about gardening because that was one of his passions, but I didn't have that content. And I thought, and how do I do this? How do I make these videos and share them with other family caregivers? So I reached out to friends at Apple. My background is actually in technology before I started going into all of this dementia stuff. I reached out to friends at Apple and I said, I need to talk to somebody who had something to do with this memories product, because I just see that there's an opportunity to use this concept to help dementia family caregivers. And so I met this guy who's on your screen. His name is Frank Lee. Called him up, and out of the blue, I was like, hey, you don't know me, but this is how I'm using this product. And I understand you had something to do with memories. And he's like, I was a designer of memories product. So he totally understood what I was trying to do. And we decided, you know what, let's do something together. And so Frank and I joined up, and we were pretty quickly joined by this whiz bang biz dev guy, which is Bill, who is also on the call today. Berenice, who is an amazing, amazing visual artist and filmmaker, who is the brains behind most of our content. And so what we did is we started creating Zinnia. And Zinnia is a streaming service. And I'm going to show it to you in just a minute, but it's a streaming service that delivers videos that have been custom curated to meet the needs of people who are living with dementia, to help reduce challenging reactions. So if I am starting to get kind of amped up and somebody is able to share with me something that is visually compelling, it helps reduce my anxiety. It helps us create meaningful connections because we have things to talk about. We also have videos that help with activities of daily living and that help reduce stress. So yes, it's a streaming service that delivers lots of videos. And so one could make the comparison of it being like Netflix for dementia, but it's not. It is so much more than that. It's actually a non-pharmacological, evidence-based tool that helps caregivers reduce their own stress by reducing the stress of the people that they care for. So we've done research. We just completed a 2-year project with the University of British Columbia and Vancouver General Hospital. They've published 4 papers, and what they discovered, working both in long-term and acute care settings, is that watching Zinnia videos calmed the person with dementia, helped the staff form connections with people who are living with dementia, helped families create connections with their loved ones, bring people with dementia together. So I hang out in long-term care communities and I watch people with dementia watching our videos together. And there is nothing that makes me happier than when I watch them start to communicate with each other about what they see on the screen. It did, through the research, they proved out that it helped facilitate activities of daily living, and it was an excellent reminiscence tool. We also have done work in long-term care settings where we did a pilot with the largest senior living operator, memory care operator in the United States. And wow, we were pretty stoked. It was a two-month pilot, and you can see the results, that it entertains, that it reduces negative reactions and prompts activities of daily living. So now we're looking at long-term and acute care settings, and things are pretty awesome. But here's what we want to do. We want people like me. We want dementia family caregivers to be able to have something that they can use in their own home, because 98% of people with dementia are being cared for at home. So we've very intentionally tried to create a price point that is affordable for families. And yeah, we sell into memory and acute care settings, but as previously mentioned, that's not really what we're shooting for. We want to help family caregivers. We recently did a survey of our subscribers, and 80% reported that Zinnia reduces their caregivers' stress, which makes sense. Because if I am showing somebody or giving them access to this visual stimulation that reduces their stress, well, gosh, if he's happy, I'm happy. So I will stop my share there for a moment and just pop in for a second. And thank you to others who have joined us on the call. And there's Berenice. So Berenice, if you would give a little wave. And that is the person I was just raving about, who is the genius behind our content. So I'm now going to share again, but this time I'm going to go ahead and show you what Zinnia looks like. And if by any chance things fall apart, Bill is going to pop in and do a demo for you instead. So let me just get this set up. I'm going to come back in here, and I am going to share my screen. So bear with me just for 1 second. Here we are. I will share. And I'm going to go here and do people see? Frank says yes. Okay. So I'm actually going to, oopsie, let me pause that. I'm going to come back to this one. I want to just first go into our channels. So anyway, when you launch Zinnia, this is where you go. Zinnia, right? Calming videos. More than calming though, they're also used to elevate the mood, but I'll get into that in just a second. The first thing that we have right there for people to see is how to use Zinnia. Like, what is this thing, and how do I use it effectively? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that right now. So I'm going to go into our channels. And so the first thing that I want you to just be familiar with is the fact that we have hundreds of videos, and they are organized according to category. So for instance, in our nature channel, we have videos that are very specifically intended to set kind of a soothing tone. And again, apologies for my internet, which is spotty. So to set kind of a soothing tone where things are set to beautiful music, we make excellent use of sound effects. And a video that just seems so small, like a video about butterflies, can actually have many, many layers going on. We work to curate something that is exactly the right pace. We sometimes have words on the screen, not always, certainly with our sing-alongs, we have words on the screen. Berenice and our content folks are all about using color effectively. Though we don't have plots, we do have a storyline that cannot be confusing. So we group things according to how they might help you, like a bunch of videos that are great for the morning or for bedtime. In our fun and games channel, we have videos that are specifically intended to elevate the mood, like just for fun or having fun. We have videos that help you drive the conversation about particular topics, like let's talk about picnics or Thanksgiving or a Sunday drive. Fun puns, which we really debated about this when we were like, oh, these are so silly. will they be effective? And man, I recently was in a memory care community where we watched them together and people were cracking up, and that made me very, very, very happy. So there are also trivia games, which are intended to be, again, completely digestible by and engaging for people who are living with cognitive decline. So obviously, what these say what they are, right? Videos just about animals or places. We recently added a faith channel, which we're pretty excited about, and we've been getting just wonderful feedback from people about our faith-based content, and we are certainly adding a lot to that as time goes on. We have recently started a channel that is for people who are Spanish speakers. As mentioned previously, sing-alongs that have words. And we have videos. So most of our videos, as you'll see in just a moment, are 6 to maybe 12 minutes, but we also have videos that are significantly longer if that's something that people are interested in. And then we also have videos that are just for the caregiver, although caregivers certainly reach out to us and they say, oh my gosh, the nature channel, I got this thing for my husband, but I'm actually the one who watches it. So how to use Zinnia, self-care, and then we also have videos that are education videos. And so again, this is kind of leaning into my experience as an instructor for both professional and family caregivers, and they are very much formulated to be done in the Zinnia fashion, where they are lovely videos. But now a little bit about, let me show you what some of the videos look like. So this is why I reached out to Frank Lee. And I said, Frank, I want to be able to create these videos that are all different kinds of topics that are like the little videos that I'm creating on my phone, but better, but that will allow us to, for instance, drive a conversation that will be slow paced enough that my husband can actually hang on to them. And so, for instance, I will share with you growing veggies because I love this. I'm a big gardener, and I'm going to share for just a moment that Zinnia, let me pause, and I'm just going to lower the volume here. You also do have tools that allow you to do things like change the speed of the video. So if somebody is really kind of slowed down, that we can play this video at a lower speed. But Zinnia, by the way, as mentioned, am a huge gardener, and Zinnia is named for the zinnia flower because it is a flower that is absolutely beautiful and that grows in even horrible conditions. And so we are here to help people blossom inside their diagnosis. So anyway, back to growing veggies. So as I mentioned, just lowered the volume. But if I were watching this with my dad, I would be able to narrate a story. So I would be able to say, holy man, I remember when we grew these peas. We grew the peas. When did we plant them, Dad? What time of year did we plant the peas? I could ask questions that allow him to become the expert in the room. Or I can just allow him to talk about what he's seeing. Maybe he would start reminiscing about when we used to build the soil together. And we could connect over this thing that we have done together in the past. I'm going to pause and back up. So one use case then for Zinnia is that we create connection with the person. We allow them to be the expert in the room. It's something that is both entertaining and engaging. And you know what? If my dad were watching that video, I know that he would be so engaged that I would be able to go and maybe do a little dinner prep or wash my hair. So Zinnia is also great for a little bit of respite. We do not advocate parking anybody in front of a screen for hours on end, but it can be useful for just grabbing those little bits of respite. So I want to share with you another use case, and that is with this baby video. So I was at a conference, the Teepa Snow conference, a couple of years ago, and a woman came up to me and she said, oh my God, I had a table and I had a TV and I had this video. I had a bunch of videos playing, and she came up to me and she said, hey, I need to tell you how we're using Zinnia. So we just came out with our app. By the way, it's an app that runs on connected devices and mobile TVs. And we came out with it in the fall of 2022. She was using it in her long-term care community. And she said, we have this woman who every day, it seems, goes into this state towards the afternoon. And I know a lot of you know what I'm talking about. This state at some point in the day where she's balling her fists and she's getting anxious. And so she starts to, it then leads to, because they don't know how to calm her down, so it leads to all out reactivity. And her PRN, right, the note set up by her doctor says, well, when she gets that way, give her an antipsychotic. And as we all know, like that will do the trick, but it is also the last resort, because antipsychotics are not really intended for people with dementia. It can, it turns them into a fall risk. It starts to have a negative impact on their cognitive capacity. So we try to avoid that. And so this woman said, knowing all of these things, we hated the fact that we were giving her these antipsychotics every day. So instead, what we did is we said, you know what? She was a pediatric nurse for 40 years. Let's show her the baby video when she starts getting agitated and see what happens. And so they had Zinnia running on a tablet. They showed her the baby video. She immediately started cooing at the babies and smiling and giggling, and they did not need to give her the antipsychotic that day. So when we talk about Zinnia being a non-pharmacological tool, it is a tool to try before we go to drugs. And they actually wound up working with her doctor to change her care plan so that her PRN was set up so that the first course of action when she's getting highly reactive is to go to a Zinnia video before they try antipsychotics. So what we've also discovered in that research that I told you about at the University of British Columbia and Vancouver General Hospital, they discovered that if they show certain videos on a regular basis, that it helps set the mood, it helps them create routines. And so what I wanted to share with you were these activity of daily living videos, which describe how that happens. So these ADL videos are specifically intended to model and reduce anxiety around the thing that we are about to do. So if, for instance, I get a lot of pushback from my mom about drinking water, because when I offer water, she says, I just drank 5 minutes ago. Well, I know she didn't drink 5 minutes ago. I know that she has not actually had a drink for about the last 3 hours. But of course, we never argue with a person who's living with dementia. I'm not going to say, you drank, you haven't had anything to drink for 3 hours. What, don't you remember? No. I'm never going to say that to a person with dementia. So instead, what I'm going to do is say, okay, you know what? I thought maybe we could watch a video together. And so we start watching this video. And what you would hear if I had the volume turned up is sound effects of water pouring into a glass. And we just watch it together for a while. We watch this video of delicious water, and I might say, wow, does that ever look good? You know, this is actually, Mom, it's kind of making me a little thirsty. Boy, and I have a glass handy for her. And at some point, I offer her the glass of water. Might take a little while. So we have dogs drinking water, and we have cats drinking water, and we have babies drinking water, and it just goes on, creating opportunities for me to be able to say things like, look at Mom, even the kitty cat is drinking water. This would be a really good time for us to drink some water, don't you think? And so one of our subscribers, whom we adore, has shared with us that she uses these videos to set the routine, which is what I was alluding to with the folks in our research, to set a routine for her grandmother. So every day at 11 a.m., they have hydration hour where they watch the video and they drink water. And then she also uses our bedtime video at night to get her grandmother to go to bed. And what they had found is that grandma goes to bed, gets up, goes to bed, gets up, goes to bed, gets up. You know what I'm talking about. So they started showing her this video at night, every night, part of their routine before they go to bed. And now grandma goes to bed and she stays in bed. And this is the kind of story that just makes us feel like everything that we're doing is worthwhile, because the caregiver is able to have a tool to share with their loved one to try to make everybody's life a little bit better. So this is an example of where we have some words on the screen. We are incredibly responsive to our subscribership. And that was a result of somebody saying, you know, my husband really is trying to hang on to his reading. Is it possible to have there be words on the screen? And so we do, and a lot of our videos have words. And in this case, we actually have somebody delivering friendly messages. This is simulated presence therapy. It is somebody who seems to be in the room with you, and they are encouraging you to do the thing that we all wish that we were doing right now. I'm going to go ahead and back out of here. I'm going to stop my share. And I have now shown you what I came here to show you today. And I wonder if anybody on the Zinnia team has anything else that they would like to add. And I also wonder if anybody has any questions that we can answer, or if there are any specific videos that you would like to see. Brennan Miller, thank you for sharing the videos that you made for your wife. I love that. And I would also add that we, so Zinnia, if you can download it from an app store or from our website, it does come with a 2-week free trial, so you can see if it works. The other thing that we have, I saw Frank's message just now saying, can you play the videos full screen? Sorry, I missed that. And we also have a YouTube channel where we have a lot of our videos out there for free. Is subscription price for Zinnia in US funds? I live in Canada. It is in US funds. Any other questions? Anything that I can share with anybody?
Allison, do you want to talk a little bit about watching alone versus watching something like a watch with video?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that right now. But it's very, it's wonderful for people to, we do have videos that are specifically intended for people to watch alone. We also have videos that are intended to be watched with a loved one. We get wonderful feedback from people who are excited about the fact that it's multi-generational. And so they have people who are grandma watches with the grandkids, for instance, because you can imagine that a video about butterflies or bunnies or waterfalls, even something like a baking video could be, or a lot of our videos are for people with all different ages, but also different stages of dementia. We have people with mild cognitive impairment who are some of our greatest supporters, who talk about how Zinnia, they keep it running in a room and then they go in there when they need a little bit of a break, and that it helps them kind of reestablish where they are and what they're doing, and they enjoy it enormously, and they're able to choose the channels by themselves. We had originally figured that Zinnia, I mean, we created it for people like my husband who had mid to late stage dementia, but we find that people across the spectrum find our videos really helpful. And Frank put our URL on there. And thank you, Sandra. I really appreciate your comment.
I'm wondering if there are any family caregivers in the session who want to talk about what works for them, what type of things they might do with videos or TV or YouTube that they've found particularly helpful, or suggestions for us as we go about and continue to build additional content.
All righty. Well, then I think that we will, I think that we could go longer, but I'm going to invite people to, go ahead and pop into some other sessions. Did you have something you wanted to say there, Richard?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say one comment that I was gonna make was like, I know one thing that we used with my dad that was very calming for him before he passed was just showing videos of my parents are from Bolivia, and showing video clips of Bolivia and him seeing some that would just find some on YouTube, and just some things along those lines, like with different countries or different places, because he'll just be in awe of looking at some of the old videos like that.
That's beautiful. So really kind of leaning into what is familiar, right? Leaning to
Right.
what is familiar to him. And I think that that's a beautiful thing to be able to do that. I see that, Lencha, I'll go ahead and share the comment. Paint with joy, paint with love joy, all together, one word, paint with love joy on YouTube is a lovely and calming channel. Watching her paint. Yeah, she's got more than 500 videos. That sounds fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that we're have some content that is around the bend that is sort of similar to that. One of the things that we really love about Zinnia is the fact that it's commercial free. So while we have our YouTube channel out there, because we really want to give people access to free content and we want them to try us out. But the only bummer about that is that there are commercials. Yeah. Sandra, you are awesome. Thank you for the very kind comments. And if anybody has anything else to add about tools, or just if there's a caregiving question, you know, we could have the I lead support groups. If you want to open this up to just a question that you have that you'd like to chat about, we could also do that for the time that we have together. Or again, there are other, thank you, Bill, for sharing our contact information in the chat. And I'm really grateful to you. Again, there are many workshops that you could attend today, and I'm really so happy that you came to spend some time with Zinnia.